Welcome to high school basketball on Homeland Communications of Princeton. This evening we're here at Princeton High School for a first round game of the Mercer County Tournament, pitting the Pirates of West Windsor-Plainsboro High School against the host Little Tigers. Both teams will bring a 7-10 record into this game, and the winner of this game will meet McCorston in a second round contest. I'm Rich Miller. With me tonight is Jerry Price. Jerry's seen both of these teams in action quite a bit. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what to expect tonight.
Well, the first time these two teams met, Princeton won 77-68, and that was when they sped out to a 6-3 mark to start the season. After that, they dropped their next seven games and only recovered this week with a win over Hopewell Valley. West Windsor, on the other hand, has been pretty much around the 500 mark all year, and they too went into a little bit of a slump, but they rebounded nicely Tuesday night with a win over Hun, in which they trailed by 15 with about 6 minutes to go and put on a nice press and came back to win it on J.F. Glassmacher's bomb at the buzzer. So that probably will give them a lift coming into this game, and the fact that both of them broke their losing streaks will give them a bit of a lift. The first game was all Peter Paris. He had a career-high 30 points for the Little Tigers. And in the first half, he hit his first 8 shots. One was a spinning reverse layup, and the other 7 were three-pointers in the NBA. So to try to combat that tonight, Rolla Warner's going to put maybe his quickest player, Dan Sexton, on Paris and have him play a box and one and have the other 4 players in the box. Sexton getting his first start of the year, and he hasn't seen too much action up until the game before. Up until the game with Hun, in which he came in and he led them on the press. And he's a good defensive player. He doesn't shoot the ball exceptionally well, but he hustles, and he's the kind of player that West Windsor needed. The rest of the West Windsor team, a lot of the time they like to revolve around their big man, junior Evan Johnson, about 6'6". He does a nice job in the middle. He has good hands on offense, so he catches the ball and gets fouled a lot. And J.F. Glassmacher, one of the better outside shooters in the county, he had 24 the night that Paris had 30. For Princeton, they'll come at you with 10 seniors and 2 juniors, but the 2 juniors could quite possibly be the 2 best players, Darius Young and John Thompson, both of them in the backcourt, and both of them are good shooters. And of course with Paris, if he comes anything close to what he had the other night, Princeton will be in pretty good shape.
Paris has been the Little Tigers' most consistent scorer this year, and he also does a lot of other things on the floor in terms of hustling and rebounding. One of the things Little Tiger coach Doug Snyder is a little bit concerned about is the height advantage that West Windsor's going to have, particularly with Evan Johnson on the inside at 6'6". Princeton's tallest player will be Brian Trelstad, who's getting the start at center. Pat McKellar had been starting, but Trelstad's just a little taller. He's been working a little bit harder. Snyder wants to work him into the lineup, and hopefully that little bit of height will help a little bit against the Pirates.
It should defensively. Offensively, Trelstad's a little more effective facing the basket, but defensively he could do a good job on Evan. He's about his size, and he's been pretty good in the middle. Mike Riddick is only about 6'1", 6 feet, more known for football, but he's also good in the middle, especially on offense, where he's quick and he has good moves inside, and he's been effective against taller people in the beginning of the season. But during Princeton's slump, he slumped a lot too, so maybe Princeton's fortunes will ride with Riddick. For West Windsor, the story was obviously the graduation of their top 7 players of a year ago, and now they come at you with four juniors and a sophomore in the starting lineup, plus a freshman who'll see a considerable amount of time. Starting lineups for tonight for West Windsor, they'll have Lenny James at the point. He's a sophomore transfer from New Brunswick, and he's done a very good job running the West Windsor show. Something that West Windsor fans weren't really used to was a player of James's style who likes to push the ball up the court and looks to run. Joining James in the backcourt will be Dan Sexton, Johnson will be the center, and J.F. Glassmacher and Steve Jackson will be up at the forwards. Steve Jackson, a transfer from Rahway, wasn't eligible until February 1st, but he's had 27 big points in his first 2 games, and he has shown to be a quality player.
Should be an interesting matchup at the beginning of the game, seeing how Princeton High handles the box-and-one defense that we're going to see on Peter Paris. Paris hits a lot from the outside. Apparently what Coach Rolla Warner would like to do is keep the ball out of his hands. Have Sexton in his face the whole game, trying to deny the ball, and hope that the box will contain the rest of the Princeton High offense.
And you'll see Sexton followed Paris 30, 35 feet away from the basket, because in the first game, that's what Paris was doing, just taking 2 more steps back and firing. And everything he threw up went in that game. The starters for Princeton, Darius Young and John Thompson. We gave you in the backcourt Mike Riddick, Brian Trelstad, and Peter Paris up front. And we're pretty close to game time here. For the winner, the dubious honor of playing unbeaten McCorriston, or unbeaten as of Friday night's game with Ewing in the quarterfinals of the Mercer County tournament. Of course, McCorriston, the defending champion.
And the overwhelming favorite, I would say, bringing their unbeaten status into the tournament. This game, however, could mean more than just advancing one game in the Mercer County tournament for these teams. As we said, they're both 7 and 10. They're both coming off games that had to give them a little bit of a shot in the arm. The Little Tigers had lost 7 straight, and they're really kind of hurting. And West Windsor, of course, has had troubles, been kind of up and down, but perhaps their most inspired performance in the year in pulling out a last-second victory over Hun. That should give them a lift. Last year, when these two teams played here at the Princeton High gym, the result was a thrilling 1-point game. I believe it was 52-51. And we may see a similar kind of contest tonight. It means a lot for both teams. We're ready for the start of the game.
Referee Joe Wires to throw the ball up as Evan Johnson and Trelstad will jump for it. And it's controlled by Lenny James. West Windsor in their road green with yellow trim going left to right. Princeton in the home white with blue trim. Glassmacher with the ball on the left side, a good outside shooter. He'll pull up, and that one will be short, but Steve Jackson with the rebound up and slapped away, and Peter Paris will control for Princeton. He gives it to John Thompson, and we should see the box and one. We already do with Dan Sexton following Paris all over the court. Thompson to the play and catch with Darius Young. Look to rotate the ball to Trelstad. Thompson back to Young. He'll pull up over Johnson. It's on the way, no good. The rebound is on the floor, and it's tied up by Dan Sexton, and that's what he does so well. Gets after the loose balls and just hustles over the court.
One thing we should point out is that Paris is an excellent athlete in terms of speed and jumping ability. He's very quick. He jumps extremely well. He's cleared 6'8" in the high jump. He's one of the best high jumpers in the state of New Jersey. So Sexton will have his hands full trying to keep close.
Thompson to inbound the ball under his own basket. He gets it to Trelstad. Trelstad up top to Darius Young. Into Mike Riddick. He spins inside, puts it up. It's good, and the foul. And as we said, Mike Riddick is good at that, getting the bigger man in foul trouble. And maybe he could wake up tonight from his slump.
Well, I think what Coach Doug Snyder would like to see is Riddick penetrating the middle of that box and then feeding the ball inside to him and getting some points just like that, right where there was an opening in the middle. He went to the hoop, and here he has a chance to get the 3rd point of the game.
The shot is on the way, no good. The rebound is controlled by J.F. Glassmacher. The foul went against Evan Johnson, obviously his first. Lenny James will bring the ball up for the Pirates. He looks to penetrate. He dishes off nicely to Jackson inside. It's on the way, no good. Johnson, the offensive rebound, scores to tie it at 2.
And that's why Doug Snyder's concerned about Evan Johnson. With that height, he didn't even need great position because he's so much taller than the Little Tiger players inside.
Thompson to Trelstad on the right side. Looks to go cross court instead, back to Thompson. He'll pull up, and it's on the way, no good. And Steve Jackson with his 2nd rebound of the game. 2 good outside shooting teams, cold from the outside to start. 2-2, 6:44 to go first quarter. Lenny James with the ball. He looks to get it inside to Evan Johnson. Shoots over Riddick. It's up, and it's good. And Evan Johnson with all 4 Pirate points.
If Johnson can get that shot going, obviously none of the Princeton players are going to be able to block it. Riddick was at a considerable disadvantage there.
Thompson to Trelstad. He'll look to shoot. It's on the way. It's up, and it's good. So Trelstad with his first 2 points, and that's his best offensive tactic is more of the jump shot. 4-4 game as Lenny James brings it up for the Pirates. He gives it to J.F. Glassmacher. He gets it inside to Evan Johnson. That one's on the way, no good. The rebound is Brian Trelstad, but almost stolen away by Lenny James. And now here comes Princeton looking to run. John Thompson, 1 and 3. He'll go right over Johnson. It's on the way, and it's good. And Princeton back on top.
Thompson showing why he's earned a spot in the starting lineup as a junior. He's got an excellent outside shot. Outside of Paris, he may be the team's best outside shooter.
Glassmacher to Sexton on top of the key to Evan Johnson. Johnson bounces it over to Jackson, and he walked with the ball. Jackson's still trying to get his game legs. He sat out the first semester up until February 1st, which the first game he was able to play was West Windsor's game with Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's been practicing with the team that whole time, but practice is certainly different from game situations, and it could take him just a little bit to adjust to being in the game for West Windsor.
Thompson to Darius Young. Back to Trelstad. Underneath to Young. patient Princeton attack. Paris still hasn't touched the ball as Darius Young pulls up, no good. The rebound is on the floor, and Evan Johnson pulls it down. And he'll look to go right up with it, and it's a nice play by Evan Johnson as he goes coast to coast.
Johnson having a big game thus far. Apparently the Pirates are really going to look to take advantage of his height advantage on the inside.
And in the first 3 minutes, already more points than he had against Hun the entire game. John Thompson from the top of the key, it's on the way, and that one's perfect.
With Paris caught in the box and one, they may look to John Thompson to try and pop that outside shot more and give them the outside scoring that they're going to need against this bigger West Windsor team.
Lenny James with the ball as usual. He dishes it off to Steve Jackson, gets Paris up in the air, goes underneath him, and it's up and it's good. So a fast pace to start the game. 8-8, 4:45 to go first quarter.
The two teams took a little bit to get started, but all of a sudden they're putting the points on the board on just about every possession now.
John Thompson bounces it over to Darius Young. Thompson looking to get it back to Young. Back to Thompson, inside to Riddick, nice feed in there, dishes it off nicely to Trellstad, and the layup rolls around and in. So that's 4 for Trellstad, and Princeton with the 2-point lead once again.
Again, the penetration key for Princeton. Riddick threw the man over to him and dumped off to Trellstad, who was wide open.
James to Glassmacher. He's 0 for 1 so far. Back to James. Paris goes for the trap. Instead, they get it to Glassmacher for the open jumper. It's no good, and Paris with the rebound. Here comes Thompson now, 2-on-2 with Darius Young. He'll pull it out and slow it down. Paris still hasn't touched the ball on the offensive end as Trellstad pulls up. No good. The rebound nicely tipped up by Darius Young. It's no good, and we're going to have a foul against Mike Riddick. Nice effort by Darius Young.
That Peter Paris isn't the only little Tiger who can get up in the air. He certainly has a great deal of jumping ability. Almost got the basket out of it.
And the freshman Duffy Hoopengarner, who's done a nice job as just a freshman, checks in, replaces Dan Sexton, giving him a breather. It's going to be a long night for him shadowing Peter Paris.
Well, certainly Paris, it's a pretty hot pace. Sexton may get a little bit worn down trying to keep up.
Hoopengarner to Steve Jackson. In the lane to Lenny James. He goes up over Trellstad. It's so good. The rebound is Steve Jackson. He looks to go up with it. He's tied up, and we're going to have 3 seconds, I believe. Yes, 3 seconds. And Steve Jackson already with 3 offensive rebounds and gives a new dimension to the West Windsor game, the power game inside, despite being only 6'2". Trellstad and Thompson. Now to Darius Young, over to Trellstad. Nice play by Princeton, but Trellstad misses the shot, and Jackson gets the rebound. That's 5 rebounds for Jackson. 3:06 to go first quarter, 10-8 Princeton. Opening round of the Mercer County tournament. Steve Jackson from the right side, it's no good. The rebound's on the floor. Lenny James loses control. A scramble underneath, and Mike Riddick comes away with it. To John Thompson, 3-on-1 Thompson. Nice feed to Darius Young, and he misses the layup. But it's out of bounds off of Lenny James, and Princeton will maintain control.
A couple of times now, the Little Tigers have tried to push the ball up the court and get the fast break going. They haven't gotten any points out of it yet.
Inbound the ball to Brian Trellstad. Same 5 for Princeton the whole way. John Thompson had the shot, instead pulls it back to Darius Young, and we're going to have a foul against Evan Johnson. That'll be his second, and with 6 points for Evan Johnson, they could ill afford to have him in foul trouble, and we'll see Paul Atkinson, a 6'6" junior, get up and get into the game.
Well, Johnson's clearly going to be a big part of the West Windsor game plan, and Atkinson probably would have quite as much success as Johnson experienced on the inside, but you can't get the big man in foul trouble. They're certainly going to need him later.
Atkinson was a starter till Jackson became eligible as Mike Riddick goes up and in for it. For Riddick, 4 points and a 4-point Princeton lead. Nice crowd filling in here at Princeton High as Lenny James brings the ball across. Around Paris, it's slapped away and out of bounds. It should stay West Windsor ball, and it does.
Paris providing some tough defense there as Lenny James brings the ball inbounds.
Glassmacher and James playing catch now. James looks to drive, puts it up, and it is no good. Riddick pulls it down, and here comes Thompson looking to run. 3-on-2 now for Princeton. Thompson to Peter Paris. It's up, it's no good. It's a nice play by Glassmacher. Atkinson with the rebound. Tied up for a moment by Darius Young. No whistle, and here comes Lenny James against not too much pressure from Young and Thompson as Hoopengarner brings it across for West Windsor. To J.F. Glassmacher into Atkinson. He looks to go to the basket. A nice move by Atkinson, but the layup is not there, and the ball is out of bounds, I believe, off of West Windsor, and it'll be Princeton ball. 1:50 to go first quarter, 12-8 Princeton.
The Little Tigers have been looking to move the ball up court quickly and hopefully get a man advantage. Apparently they would prefer not to get into a half-court game with West Windsor.
Thompson bounces it over to Trelstad, who's done a nice job, and that one is in. And now Brian Trelstad with 6 points, tying Evan Johnson for high honors, and a good move by Doug Snyder to put him in the starting lineup.
Trelstad's really asserting himself. He's got 6 points. He's taken another shot, a couple other shots, and look confident with it.
Hoopengarner to Steve Jackson on the right corner. He had Riddick up in the air, now he drives to the basket. It's on the way, it's no good. The rebound is out of bounds, and that'll be Princeton basketball.
Like Atkinson hammered the ball out of Trelstad's hands.
Atkinson is a better defensive player than an offensive player. His hands aren't as good inside as Evan Johnson's, but he still could be effective rebounding and blocking shots as Gerard Hall checks in for Steve Jackson. Hall, along with Mark Williams, one of the only 2 seniors who plays at all for West Windsor, as Darius Young nails his jump shot.
Now 16-8 lead for the host Little Tigers. They've doubled the Pirates' offensive output thus far. 54 seconds left in the first quarter.
Lenny James bounces it over to J.F. Glassmacher. Looks to penetrate. Nice move inside to hit Atkinson with a nice pass, and Atkinson with the layup. Then West Windsor stops Princeton's 8-point run. Riddick with the ball to Darius Young, who pulls up. That one's on the way and no good. The rebound is J.F. Glassmacher. He gives it to Lenny James. Now James bringing the ball up for West Windsor. To the right side as it's stolen away by Darius Young, who was coming up behind him. Looks to go the distance to John Thompson, who slips, and the ball is picked up by Lenny James, and he'll come down 2-on-1 with Glassmacher. James to Glassmacher to James. Beautiful play for the layup. 16 seconds to go, 4-point Princeton lead.
That was a textbook example of how to run the fast break and take advantage of the man up.
Young inside to Riddick with 5 seconds. It's on the way. It's no good, but we're going to have a blocking foul on Glassmacher with 4 seconds left, and that causes Rolla Warner to lurch back in his chair. That's not really something you want to see. Fouling with 4 seconds left.
Well, it wasn't the smartest play. You don't want to give the Little Tigers a chance to extend their lead.
3 fouls on West Windsor, so there will be no shots. 4 seconds left. Thompson to inbound the ball. He goes to Paris, who's still looking for his first shot with 3-2 into Riddick. Stolen away by James. He throws it the length of the court. No good, and a well-played first quarter. A lot of action, and a 16-12 Princeton lead.
While we break for the first quarter, as the Princeton High cheerleaders take the floor, we'll be taking a break also. This is high school basketball on Homeland Communications.
If you have to wear a special uniform for your job, you may qualify for a tax deduction. The cost of uniforms and other apparel may be tax deductible, providing you're required to wear the uniform for your job and it's not suitable for everyday use. The cost of cleaning may also be deductible. If you're a hospital worker, a police officer, even a firefighter, you may qualify for this deduction.
A public service of the New Jersey Society of CPAs and this station.
We're back here at Princeton High School as the Little Tigers break from their huddle and prepare to take the floor for the second quarter. Princeton High holding a 16-12 lead. It's a little bit surprising. Peter Paris didn't have any points in the first quarter. The boxing one worked effectively, yet they've still got a 4-point lead.
Another surprising fact is that J.F. Glassmacher, who's been the bulk of the Pirate offense lately, doesn't have any points either. 6 for Johnson, 2 for James, Jackson, and Atkinson for West Windsor as we get underway here in the second quarter. As Hoopengarner gets it into James, it's up and no good. Riddick with the rebound, and Riddick will look to push the ball up the court. Nice pass to Thompson, who pulls up. It's on the way, but air ball is corralled by Gerard Hall, and Lenny James will look to slow it. 4 for Thompson, 4 for Riddick, 2 for Young, and 6 for Trelstad in the first quarter for Princeton. Lenny James with the ball. Bounces it to Glassmacher, to Duffy Hoopengarner. He goes and dishes it off nicely to Gerard Hall. Head fake, and we might have a travel before the shot, and we do.
Pace of the game picking up quite a bit here as both teams looking to get into the running game. Got some quick point guards to push the ball up the floor.
John Thompson at about 6'2", 6'3". Nice size for a point guard. He'll be the quarterback for the Little Tigers football team next season as Darius Young pulls up, bounces around the rim and gets the friendly roll. And speaking of Princeton football, coming up at the half, an interview with Princeton High football coach Kurt Valherbst. 18-12 Princeton. Jerry Price, Rich Miller from Princeton High School in the opening round of the Mercer County tournament. Lenny James bounces it to Hoopengarner. He goes to the basket, it's on the way and no good. He fights for his own rebound, dishes to Glassmacher, it's on the way and it rolls around no good. And we're going to have a foul on Paul Atkinson. And with Evan Johnson on the bench with 2 fouls, Atkinson needs to be careful.
That right baseline hasn't been a friendly spot for the Pirates tonight. They've had a couple of shots from there that looked like they were going in, roll right back out of the basket. The home rim is helping Princeton High out a little bit as Thompson brings the ball up.
Trelstad swings it all the way across to Darius Young. He pulls up, it's on the way, no good. Tapped up once by Trelstad, controlled by Young. He pulls it out, and Princeton will set up the offense. Still the box and one, with Hoopengarner shadowing Paris as Riddick gets the ball, and we're going to have another foul. I believe it's going to go against Paul Atkinson, although I thought maybe he wasn't the Pirate who did the foul and he slapped the ball away.
Well, Princeton is penetrating the box and one here, picking up some fouls on the big men early on. That could certainly play a large role in the success of Little Tiger offense later in the contest.
So Sexton in for Hoopengarner, Jackson in for Atkinson. Still the same 5 for Princeton that have played the whole game. Riddick, a good foul shooter with 2. The first one's on the way and good. 5 points for Mike Riddick, 7-point Princeton High lead.
Riddick doing a nice job rebounding inside and adding some scoring now as well. He's been in a little bit of a slump lately. He seems to be breaking out of it. It gives him 8 points on the game?
6.
6, sorry.
He'll have 8. He'll have 8 soon. Lenny James with the ball across the line. James on the right side now. Still in control. And now we're going to have a foul against, I believe, John Thompson. That's Joe Wires and Dave Potash, our officials here tonight. And that's only the second team foul and a half on Princeton High. So West Windsor will inbound the ball on this side. Glassmacher to put it in for West Windsor. He dishes it to Lenny James. Trapped by Thompson and Young. Swings it around to Sexton, and it's knocked away nicely by Young, who can't save it, but a nice play nonetheless.
Young having an excellent game, both offensively and defensively. He's missed a few shots, but he's really hustling all around the court, all 90 feet.
In the beginning of the season, it was Peter Paris who was the dominant player for Princeton. Then maybe it was John Thompson, and now it looks like Darius Young is coming along nicely.
He's certainly asserting himself, both ends of the court.
To Hall, as Sexton puts it up, it's on the way and no good. Jackson keeps it alive. He goes up with the reverse layup, it's no good, but he was fouled to go to the line. That's 4 offensive rebounds for Jackson and 6 on the game.
Jackson hasn't contributed a lot of offense just yet in this game, but he's certainly making his presence felt under the boards. We talked earlier about West Windsor's height advantage. Jackson isn't even one of their larger players, but he's certainly sneaking in and doing a nice job getting the rebounds.
First one's up and no good. Jackson a year ago was sitting on the varsity bench at Rahway High and starting for the JV team. Same was true of Lenny James at New Brunswick High School.
Both have had an opportunity to start at West Windsor.
As Jackson makes the second one to cut it to 7. 5:56 to go first half. Princeton 20, West Windsor 13. The bounce pass isn't there, and Gerard Hall picks it up. He gives it to Lenny James, and he brings it up for the Pirates. James looks to penetrate, goes around 4 Princeton players, dishes it nicely to Jackson for the layup. Nice play by Lenny James and Steve Jackson. 5 for Jackson now.
The Little Tigers are trying to do some different things on defense, pursuing the ball a little more aggressively and trying to trap, and as a result, you're getting some open men.
Trelstad all the way across to Darius Young, back to Thompson. Nice little head fake, he's got the open 8-footer, it's no good. Trelstad, a nice offensive rebound, he walked with the ball, and the refs call walking. And they better have called walking there as Evan Johnson comes back into the game.
Trelstad did a nice job going up and getting the rebound, but he got nudged and was off balance, and nothing he could do but travel with it.
James, Sexton, Hall, Johnson, and Jackson for the Pirates. Same 5 the whole game for the Little Tigers. That might be a factor later on if they get tired. Jackson with the ball at the top of the key to Lenny James. James penetrates, nothing's there, so he gives it back to Gerard Hall. Hall, the only member of this year's West Windsor team who saw any action at all for last year's Valley Division champions. Jackson thought about shooting it, it wasn't there, he pulls it back to Hall. To Lenny James, can't control it, but it goes to Evan Johnson, it's on the way and it rolls around no good. The rebound is fought for, controlled by Steve Jackson, and now it's John Thompson coming down 3-on-1. A nice feed to Darius Young, it's on the way and it's good, and he's fouled and he'll go to the line. And those two have been doing it like that since the 4th grade.
Certainly a nice tandem of the juniors Thompson and Young. I believe that's going to be Jackson picking up the foul with the block. And we'll have Young at the line with a chance to open the Little Tigers' lead to 8 points. It's currently 22-15 with 4:37 left in the second period.
Young's shot is up and good, and that matches the Little Tigers' biggest lead of 8, 23-15, 4.5 minutes to go, first half. Lenny James walks the ball up now to Danny Sexton, to Gerard Hall. Hall to Steve Jackson. Swinging the ball around, trying to get it into Evan Johnson, which they do. The shot's up and no good. Another offensive rebound for Jackson. That one's on the way in good, and he's fouled.
Jackson's starting to come alive offensively. He was bound to get some points eventually if he kept coming down with the offensive rebounds and getting the ball a couple of feet from the basket.
6 offensive rebounds for Steve Jackson, who was everything Rolla Warner said he was for the first 2 months of the season while Jackson was unable to play.
Jackson adds another point.
That's 8 for him. It's now a 5-point lead for Princeton. As long as it stays close, it could go either way down the stretch.
Well, we talked about the fatigue factor as Riddick takes the ball inside.
Strong move inside for Riddick. I told you he'd get 8. 25-18 for West Windsor. 4 minutes for Princeton. 4 minutes to go first half. Lenny James. Nice move to the basket. It's on the way and no good. Peter Paris goes up over James for the rebound, and here comes Princeton as Paris pushes it across. One of the few times he's had the ball. He looks to go up, but it kind of forces it. It rolls around. It's no good, but it's going to stay Princeton ball.
Paris may be getting a little frustrated in that he hasn't seen the ball a lot on the offensive end of the court. Looked like he wanted to go to the basket there.
But looking back to the first time they played, he had all those points in the first half, but it was still tied at halftime. And I'm sure Paris would rather take this. Thompson from the corner, it's up and good. John Thompson, who looks and shoots and dribbles like John Battle of the Atlanta Hawks and Rutgers University fame. Just wears the wrong number, that's all.
Should be wearing number 20.
Gerard Hall into Evan Johnson. He shoots over Riddick. He bounces around and no good, and this time Trelstad comes down with the rebound. Throws it to Paris, who wasn't looking for it. And now Darius Young will bring it across. 3:13 to go, and for the first 13 minutes of the game, the same 5 players for Princeton High. Darius Young pulls the trigger. It's up and no good. The rebound is Steve Jackson, who has simply ruled the boards. Lenny James maybe turned the ball over to Princeton fans who were looking for it. Steve Jackson, double dribbled, and they didn't call it. And it's out of bounds. It'll stay West Windsor ball. He simply double dribbled. No other way around that, and the refs just did not call it.
Well, he got Trelstad off his feet and managed to dribble around him. Trelstad was as surprised as anybody because he knew that.
It's only against the rules if you get caught.
This is true.
Jackson to trigger it under his own basket to Lenny James. Gerard Hall gets it into Evan Johnson. He shoots over the smaller Princeton players, can't hit, and Darius Young pulls it down. Young brings it across to Thompson. He'll pull up. That's his shot there, and that's good. And now that's 8 for John Thompson, and an 11-point Princeton lead. It was 15 with 6 to go the other night against Hun, so West Windsor going to have to come from behind yet again. Gerard Hall pulls up from the top of the key. That one's up and good. Gerard Hall's first points of the night, and it's back to 9.
West Windsor wants to get something going and cut into the Princeton lead so they don't go into the intermission down by as many as 9 points. Thompson, nice shot, but it doesn't fall, and Evan Johnson with the rebound. Stolen away by Paris, to Thompson, back to Riddick. Then Riddick will give it back to Thompson, and Princeton is alive again. We're under 2 minutes to go first half. Reminder coming up at the half, Kurt Valherbst. Paris, nice pass into Riddick. He puts his shoulder down and puts it up, and it's going to be traveling on Riddick, and that's what they call when they don't want to call an offensive foul. Because all he did was put his shoulder down. Riddick leaned into Evan Johnson, knocked him to the floor. Riddick, of course, a very strong young man. He was a fullback on the Princeton High football team. He works the inside game well for a man his size, primarily because of that strength. He'll be the first to tell you, I got to use football tactics in there. Well, he knows how to do it, that's for certain. Gerard Hall to Duffy Hoopengarner. Slapped away by Paris, and here comes Paris by himself, and he loses it, and he double dribbles. Paris maybe thinking about showing us some of that 6'8" to go up to the 10 feet and dunk, because he certainly can. Well, he can dunk backwards, I believe, but Peter Paris, the lead pass was too far ahead for even someone of his speed to catch up with.
Gerard Hall to J.F. Glassmacher. He shoots over Trellstad. It's short, but Evan Johnson's there for the rebound and the easy layup. 8 for Evan Johnson, J.F. Glassmacher, and Peter Paris, the two designated shooters shut out in the first half. 7-point Princeton lead, 1:06 to go. Darius Young, he'll take the open jumper. It's up and no good, and Gerard Hall pulls it down, a chance to cut it for 5 for the Pirates. Hall brings it across to Duffy Hoopengarner. Princeton in a man-to-man the whole way. J.F. Glassmacher, that one's up and it bounces around and no good. And a good bounce for Princeton. Darius Young on the rebound, and he brings it across to Peter Paris. It's up, and we're going to have an offensive foul against Peter Paris.
Evan Johnson drawing the offensive foul.
And you could almost sense a little bit of the momentum shifting back to the West Windsor side, as 2 substitutions now for Princeton, who had gone the first 15 minutes without using any. Paris will come out, being replaced by Drew Steffens, and Corey Allen checked into the game a moment ago to replace John Thompson. Obviously, Doug Snyder doesn't want them to pick up cheap fouls before the half.
Allen's seen plenty of playing time this season.
And he could dunk also. And could nerve Gene Lewis. That's Hoopengarner at the top of the key. 29 seconds to go. Into Evan Johnson. He shoots over Riddick. It's on the way and no good. Fought for and controlled by Princeton to Steffens. And now Corey Allen will bring it across. And it looks like Princeton will play for 1 as we got 12 seconds. Young drives the baseline. It's up and it's good. And I believe we're going to have another offensive foul against Princeton High. 9 seconds left. And West Windsor a chance to cut it to 5 going into the locker room.
The Pirates gambling as Doug Snyder watches the activity. The Pirates gambling a little bit, setting their positions, hoping that they're going to draw the charge. They've been successful the last couple of times. They have play interrupted here briefly,
as they'll take the ball out on the side. 9 seconds left for the Pirates here in the first half. They trail by 7. Lenny James with the ball. Thompson just trying to slow him down, get in his way. James right to the basket. Nice move. It's up and it's good. A beautiful left-handed layup as Thompson will fire at the length of the court. No good off the backboard. Beautiful play by Lenny James. And just a minute ago, West Windsor trailed by 11, but they'll go into the locker room down 5, 29 to 24.
Well, Lenny James giving the Pirates a lift right before the half. Their 2 teams are taking a break, and so will we. This is high school basketball on Homelink Communications of Princeton.
Anthropology.
A lot of power eye. We changed it a little bit to get a little bit more mobility from our receivers.
Did make some changes, moving Jim Laverty from wide receiver and safety into offensive guard and linebacker, and making Tim Rumer to quarterback and moving Paul Fisher from quarterback to fullback.
Yeah, I think the thing that we did, and I think the thing that helped us the most, was we felt like we tried to get the players who had the experience, our better players, and we tried to put them in a position where they'd be able to do the best job for us. Took our best athletes and put them where we needed them. Besides the people you mentioned, Mark Perrone also was a defensive end. We moved him to nose guard. Another change that helped us. Pat McKellar went from defensive end to strong safety. Again, we took our key people and moved them around, and I think that was some of the reason why we had this success we had.
Were you pretty surprised by that success? A team that went 3 and
carry it through. Do a lot of the preparatory work.
Not through disease, because of burns and smoke inhalation. And mostly because someone didn't take the time to teach those children what to do in case there was a fire. And don't let your child become a fire-related statistic.
We're back here for the second half of the Mercer County tournament game at Princeton High between the host Little Tigers and the Pirates of West Windsor Plainsboro. At halftime, the score is Princeton 29, West Windsor 24. An interesting first half.
Interesting in that J.F. Glassmacher and Peter Paris were shut out. Glassmacher, one of West Windsor's leading scorers, Paris, one of Princeton's leading scorers, and JF had his shots and didn't have the hot hand. Peter didn't even get his shots as he was shadowed by Hoopengarner and Sexton, and they did exactly what Rollo Warner wanted them to in denying him the ball. And he didn't have anything approaching the first half he did the first time these two teams met. West Windsor with a bit of the momentum going into the locker room. It'll be interesting to see if it carries over into the second half. Running down the scoring leaders, Evan Johnson and Steve Jackson, 8 apiece for West Windsor. Lenny James with 4. Paul Atkinson and Gerard Hall with 2 apiece. For Princeton, John Thompson and Mike Riddick with 8. Darius Young with 7 and Brian Trelstad with 6. Paris shut out, and the only other 2 players who played were Corey Allen and Drew Steffens, and they didn't really see too much time.
Kind of a little bit surprising that the 2 premier outside shooters, Paris and Glassmacher, haven't scored very much yet. Other people have been picking up the slack. Johnson got a nice start. We saw Jackson, who's just gotten back into the lineup gotten into the lineup for the first time rather for the Pirates, contributing some offensive rebounds and some points. Now we have Darius Young inbounding the ball to John Thompson. This is Rich Miller with Jerry Price. We're ready to start the second half.
John Thompson with the ball on the left side for Princeton. It's Thompson, Young, Trelstad, Paris, and Riddick, the same 5 that started as Thompson sends it on the way up and no good. It'll roll out of bounds to West Windsor. West Windsor with Lenny James, J.F. Glassmacher, Gerard Hall, Steve Jackson, and Evan Johnson. 29-24 Princeton, Lenny James bringing the ball across. Gerard Hall with the ball. Cross to J.F. Glassmacher. His shot's on the way. It is no good. But keep shooting if you're the shooter, because eventually it has to fall as Mike Riddick gets the rebound. Thompson brings the ball across for Princeton. West Windsor, as Trelstad gets in, they took the box and one off of Paris on that trip down the floor, and Brian Trelstad got in the basket.
Actually, they're playing a triangle in 2 now, I believe, with both Riddick and Paris covered.
Steve Jackson with the ball on the right side to Lenny James. James to Gerard Hall, swings it to JF. He'll take the shot. It's on the way. It bounces around. It's no good. And Thompson up high for the rebound. He'll bring it across for Princeton. He'll look to go right to the basket. Lenny James slaps it away. Thompson's still in control. Back to Riddick, and he'll slow it down. They are in a triangle in 2. Darius Young to Peter Paris. Back to Young. Young pulls up. It's no good. And the rebound is Lenny James, and he comes down 2-on-1 with Glassmacher, and he'll take it all the way himself. It's up, and it's good. Nice move by Lenny James, and it's a 5-point Princeton high lead.
See, it'll be interesting to see how this triangle in 2 works. They're giving both Riddick and Paris individual attention as Thompson pulls up and then fires a short jumper.
And now Lenny James, as he always does, brings the ball up, dribbles it off his foot, but he's still in control of it. Back to Gerard Hall. On the right side, trapped by Thompson and Young, gives it back to Lenny James. A little head faking right to the basket. A nice move in the layup. Lenny James, 8 points, 4 here in the second half. A 3-point Princeton high lead.
James really showing his athleticism and his performance right near the end of the half. And again there, he's got speed, jumping ability, and great balance. He can shoot from almost any position. Paris buries the shot, gets the foul on Gerard Hall, coming out and fouling Paris as he released the ball. Makes it 33-28 in favor of the Little Tigers, and we're going to have Paris at the line.
First 2 for Paris on the night, and that's about the last thing in the world you want to see, is fouling somebody so far away. Because now they're going to rule it after the shot, so they get the ball back. Darius Young, it's on the way. Tipped away by J.F. Glassmacher, and Lenny James will pick it up. James slowed, he walked, they didn't call it. Take it to the basket, it's on the way, it's no good, and Evan Johnson fights for the rebound. It's controlled by Lenny James. Inside, but now I think this time they're going to call it traveling. Lenny James hasn't taken a jump shot yet today, but he was hitting his jumper at the end of the Hun game, and that was one of the main reasons why they were able to come back. 33-28 Princeton High, opening round of the Mercer County Tournament. For the winner of this, there is top-seeded McCorriston. John Thompson with the ball to Brian Trelstad. On the right side, Trelstad back to Thompson. Thompson drives, he puts it up. He's fouled by Glassmacher. It's no good, but he'll go to the line and shoot 2.
Obviously, Coach Rollo Warner of West Windsor a little bit concerned about Riddick's contributions on the inside as well as the outside shooting of Paris. Going to try and keep men on both of their faces and deny them a ball and make the other players, Thompson, Young, and Trelstad, score the points to beat them. Right now we have Thompson at the line.
He's got 2 shots. And his first one is on the way, and good. 9 points for John Thompson. Now waiting for his second one. Taking his time on it. Finally lets it go. It's up and good. And now Thompson will sit down with 10 points. Steffens back in the game. Lenny James walking the ball up, or for him walking the ball up for West Windsor. To Gerard Hall. Hall to Jackson. Back to Hall. To Lenny James. JF alone in the corner. He's had a cold night. Back to Lenny James. Nice feed to Gerard Hall. It's up and it's good. 4 points for Gerard Hall. Lenny James taking over the offense for West Windsor.
Also noticed that Princeton, which is usually a man-to-man team defensively, is playing some zone. As Steffens takes the shot and it's offline.
Steffens offline. Steve Jackson is 10th rebound. 6 of them offensive. Lenny James up again. A chance for West Windsor to cut it to 3. Gerard Hall to Jackson. It's on the way, and it is rolling around and no good. Trelstad with the rebound. He gives it to Allen. He's got Paris ahead, but instead it's picked off by Lenny James. And now Lenny James will bring it back. Tries to dish it off to Evan Johnson. It eventually gets there. It's up, and it is good. 10 points for Evan Johnson.
The Little Tigers are trying to get Paris open ahead of the field and use that speed. Thus far, they haven't been successful in getting him into the one-on-none to the basket.
Nice feed by Allen into Trelstad, and Trelstad's layup is his 9th and 10 points, and it's back to a 5-point lead for Princeton. 4:02 to go, third quarter. Gerard Hall to Steve Jackson. Thought about shooting it, instead gives it back to Gerard. Side of the key jumpers up, and it's perfect. 6 points for the senior.
Now a 3-point game, 37-34 in favor of Princeton with just under 4 minutes left to go in the third period.
Trying to get it into Trelstad, it's slapped away. Princeton's still in control. Steffens over to Allen. He goes nicely to the basket. It's up, and we're going to have a foul on Gerard Hall, score the basket, and send Allen to the line with his first 2 points of the game.
You mentioned earlier that Allen can dunk. He's showing his athletic ability there. Making a strong move to the basket. Hall thought he had position. The referees thought otherwise.
Danny Sexton in for Gerard Hall. Hall didn't play at all in the game against Hunt. Allen, a chance to build it back to 6 for Princeton High. Instead, it's no good, and Evan Johnson pulls the rebound in. And West Windsor's shown it could get to within 3, but no closer than that. Since we were at 8-8 in the first quarter. Steve Jackson, he likes that shot but doesn't take it. Sexton to Lenny James. He has no qualms about taking it to the basket. It's no good. Another rebound for Steve Jackson. And he shoots over Riddick, and it's good. And Steve Jackson now with 10 points. He's been in double figures in all 3 games he's played for West Windsor. 39-36, Princeton lead. Allen to Steffens. To Trelstad. To Peter Paris. It's up and it's no good, but the rebound is Mike Riddick. Slapped away by Lenny James. He'll come down 2-on-1. James bounces it to Glassmacher, and it's off Glassmacher, and they're going to say Princeton ball correctly. And my fondest apologies to Dave Gross and Drew Steffens, but I've been getting them confused the whole game. So Dave Gross is 44, not Drew Steffens. That was my mistake. I'll take all the credit for that one. As now we get Gross with the ball. Peter Paris. To Gross. Trelstad to Paris. To Riddick. It's on the way and it's no good. Gross, a nice rebound. Nowhere to go. Instead dishes it inside to Allen. It's no good. And the 12th rebound for Steve Jackson. To Lenny James, and West Windsor could cut it to 1 once again. West Windsor was down by as much as 11 in this game. Steve Jackson is hot. That one keeps him high. 14 points and 12 rebounds for Steve Jackson.
Jackson making his presence felt after waiting to play for the Pirates for most of the season. Here's Paris with the shot. It's too long. Corey Allen brings it back in.
Nice pass to Trelstad, and his layup is good. 12 for Trelstad, and you could sense the frustration for Peter Paris and JF Glassmacher. They just cannot get on track here. James taking charge for West Windsor. To Glassmacher. To Sexton. Jackson. Back to James. Tries to spin around Gross. Instead gives it back to Glassmacher. To Sexton, not much of a threat to shoot from there. Get it into Evan Johnson. It's on the way, and it's no good. And Evan Johnson will go to the line to shoot 2, and he's not a bad foul shooter for a man of his size.
Johnson also handles the ball pretty well for a big man. You notice that the Little Tigers are back playing man-to-man now after starting off the third period in a zone, a 1-2-2 zone, maybe just trying to get a little bit of rest before they go back to playing the man.
1:21 to go, third quarter. Jerry Price, Rich Miller, opening round of the Mercer County Tournament. 41-38, Princeton High over West Windsor. Evan Johnson shooting 2. His first one is on the way and good. Bit of an unorthodox style, but it works. And there's no more unorthodox style than Chris Rush, who stands over on the side of the foul line and shoots them for Pennington, but they go in, so if it's broken, don't fix it. The second one is broken. Can't fix it now. And it's a 2-point game.
Corey Allen bringing the ball up court, a little bit of a surprise. He's not usually the ball handler.
Paris is up and short. And Paris and Glassmacher just can't get in their rhythm. Lenny James going to bring it up slowly for West Windsor, who can now tie when under a minute to go in the third quarter. Nice feed inside to Jackson, but he traveled. He was too excited. He saw the open lane to the basket. Atkinson will come in, and he'll replace Evan Johnson. Darius Young. Darius Young in for Peter Paris. 41-39, Princeton, 57 seconds to go in the third quarter.
Just as last year, the battle at Princeton High between these two teams developed into a tightly contested contest.
And I believe these two teams will meet again here a week from Wednesday in a regularly scheduled Valley Division game. Gross to Trelstad. He's liked that shot so far. Instead, he drives the baseline off the side of the rim. It's no good. James ahead of the field to Sexton. The layup is good. And we're tied at 41, half a minute to go.
It's been the Little Tigers trying to get Paris open on the break, but here it was the man who's guarding him, Dan Sexton, who we didn't expect a lot of offense from, who got open and got a big bucket to tie things up with 20 seconds left in the third quarter.
And the 5'7" Sexton won't dunk, but he's effective nonetheless.
He didn't have to there.
Good baseball player is Dan Sexton. As it looks like Princeton holding for the last shot, kicked out of bounds by Gerard Hall. 5 seconds to go in the third quarter. 41-41.
Little Tigers looking to recapture the lead.
Gross into Riddick, 3. It's on the way. It's up, no good. Riddick follows his own rebound. It rolls around and it's in. And it'll count. It was before the buzzer, but still a nice quarter for the Pirates, who are back to within 2 after trailing by 5 at the half.
Well, Lala Warner has to be pleased with the way his team has come back. They're down by just 2 points, 43-41. As we get ready for the fourth quarter, we're going to take a short break.
Hi, I'm Bob Dorian, host of an exciting new cable service called American Movie Classics, inviting you to discover the magic of Hollywood's most memorable movies and legendary stars. That's what you get on American Movie Classics every night of the week, in prime time, uncut without commercials. And here's the really good news. Now American Movie Classics is available on your cable system.
We're back here at the Princeton High School gym. This is Rich Miller here with Jerry Price. The score after 3 quarters is Princeton High 43, West Windsor Plainsboro 41 in this first round game of the Mercer County Tournament. West Windsor came back from a 5-point halftime deficit to tie the game up before Mike Riddick's buzzer beater rolled around, went in, and gave the Little Tigers a 2-point edge.
And remember back to the last game that West Windsor played, they trailed by 15 with 6 minutes to go. And unless something drastic happens here, it'll be a lot closer than that with 6 minutes to go in this game. And they were real hot down the stretch.
Well, I'm sure Coach Rollo Warner would prefer not to go into the fourth quarter down 15 points. He must like where he's sitting now, considering that they were in a deficit situation for the entire game up until the last minute of the third quarter. Now they've just about pulled even as Gerard Hall brings the ball in.
Evan Johnson with the ball for West Windsor, 8 minutes to go. Gerard Hall now. To Lenny James, he's been the star tonight for West Windsor. Almost a backcourt, and we're going to have a foul against Darius Young. A nice call by the ref, even though the Princeton fans didn't like it. Lenny James almost went backcourt, but he was pushed back by Darius Young. 3 fouls now on West Windsor in the half, 2 on Princeton. So they'll inbound it in front of us. And Gerard Hall gives it to Lenny James. A chance for West Windsor to tie. There's only been 1 tie since 8-8. Gerard Hall with the ball on the left side. Goes strong to the basket, but it slips out of his hands with a roll out of bounds, and it'll go to the Little Tigers.
Gerard Hall just lost a handle on the ball as he was heading to the hoop. Little Tigers have a chance to establish a 4-point edge. 7.5 minutes left in the game.
Darius Young in the corner to Al, to Gross, to Trelstad. Swinging around to Darius on the right side. It's on the way. It's no good. The rebound is pulled down by Lenny James, all 5, 6 of them, but a good rebounder for his size.
Lenny James doing it all for the Pirates.
Now Gerard Hall, the senior, with the ball. To Lenny James. To Steve Jackson. He'll shoot over Trelstad, and he'll tie the score.
Steve Jackson really asserting himself on offense, particularly in the third quarter. He had the hot hand, helped get the Little Tigers back, or the Pirates, excuse me, back into the ball game.
Gross to Trelstad. Back to Gross. Not Steffens, but Gross. He pulls the trigger. It's no good. Fought for, controlled by Lenny James. He's going down now 1-on-3, so he'll slow it down like a good point guard will. And run the offense for West Windsor, a chance to take the lead. To Sexton. Top of the key, Sexton to Jackson. He's hot. The shot's not there. He gives it back to Evan Johnson, to Gerard Hall, as Paris and Thompson will check in for Princeton. Jackson back to Sexton, to Gerard Hall. Patient West Windsor team as Gerard Hall goes up with it. It's an air ball, but Sexton's right there. It's no good. Lenny James goes up and down, and I believe we're going to have a jump ball, and I believe possession will go over to the Little Tigers.
West Windsor had a few chances there. They're doing a real nice job on the offensive boards. Jackson sneaking inside and getting a lot of offensive rebounds. Johnson using his height well against the shorter Little Tigers. There they had about 3 opportunities and couldn't make it fall, so we're still tied at 43 as the Little Tigers bring the ball in.
And John Thompson will walk it up the court for Princeton. They're starting 5 back in the game. They've used only 7 players tonight. Trelstad to Thompson. Back to Trelstad playing catch. Now get it to Darius from on the right side. That's on the way. That's no good. The rebound is all Evan Johnson. And now here comes Dan Sexton, 2-on-2. And he bounces it off of John Thompson. And it goes back off of Dan Sexton. A good call underneath by Joe Wires.
Now after using the specialty defenses on Paris and Riddick before, it looks as though the Pirates are playing a 2-3 zone.
5:40 to go, fourth quarter. 43-43 opening round of the Mercer County Tournament. 8th-seeded Princeton, 9th-seeded West Windsor. John Thompson shoots over Sexton. That's up no good. Darius Young, a nice follow. He doesn't get the friendly roll. Riddick goes up with it, but we're going to have before the shot, no basket, and we're going to have a foul on Evan Johnson. That'll be his 3rd. And all in all, I think the Pirates will take it.
Nevertheless, an excellent effort by Riddick there, showing his strength, just bursting out and throwing a shot up.
Sexton doing a nice job here tonight for the Pirates. He checks out. J.F. Glassmacher, the hero the other night, shut out tonight, but he can hit it any time.
Well, he and Paris haven't played a large role in the scoring column, but as the game comes down to a tight game at the end of the 4th quarter here, as Brian Trelstad taking it to the hoop and missing, Evan Johnson with the rebound.
And West Windsor a chance to take the lead, to take its first lead of the game. They have yet to lead.
As I was saying, both Glassmacher and Paris could play a large role before this one's over.
Nice feed from Glassmacher to Jackson. 16 points for Steve Jackson to go along with 13 rebounds. And he and Lenny James have been the story for the Pirates, who take the lead for the first time at 45-43. Thompson to Paris. Back to Darius Young. Trelstad passing it around the outside. Thompson pulls the trigger. That one's good. 12 points for John Thompson. Getting back to Glassmacher and Paris, those two combined for 54 points in the first game, 2 tonight.
Well, obviously a big difference in the texture of the game here.
Another nice feed, Glassmacher to Jackson, and he'll take that one again. And the basically full house here at Princeton High is starting to heat up. 4:18 to go in regulation, 47-45 West Windsor.
Jackson's got the hot hand, and the Pirate guards are looking for him as Thompson nails one from the outside. He's getting hot too.
And if it comes, there's so many shooters on the floor right now who could get hot and carry their team down the stretch.
Well, Thompson's doing it for the Little Tigers right now. Jackson doing it for the Pirates.
Jackson doing it inside. Now looks to do it outside instead. Inside to Johnson, turns and shoots. And we're going to have a foul on J.F. Glassmacher on Brian Trelstad. That'll only be the 3rd Now that'll put West Windsor over the limit, and we'll shoot the 1-and-1. Brian Trelstad going to the line. He's one of Princeton High's better foul shooters. If it comes down the stretch, a lot of good foul shooters on the court right now. If you're looking to foul, the edge goes to Princeton High here because all 5 Princeton High players are good foul shooters. For West Windsor, Glassmacher, Johnson, Gerard Hall, they're good foul shooters. James and Jackson, maybe not the best foul shooters around, although they can hit.
Well, their strength from the field makes up for what they may lack at the line. As we said, with Princeton in the bonus situation, fine foul shooting could really help them out.
Little Tigers back on top as Trelstad makes both. Give him 14 and give the Pirates a 2-point lead. 49-47, under 4 minutes to go in regulation. For the winner, a date with McCorston. JF from the right side, that one's on the way and no good. Oh, just another rebound for Jackson, but we're gonna have a foul. And what can you say about Steve Jackson that we haven't said already tonight? 14 rebounds.
He's really doing the job inside.
18 points, 14 rebounds.
The man was his arrival in the starting lineup was long awaited by the Pirates. Sat, waited, went to practice, put his time in, and now he's doing it all out on the court.
And who knows, if the Pirates had him for the whole season, maybe they would have finished over 500 by the cutoff date and made the state tournament. James had the jumper, he pulls up instead. It's not there. Trelstad, a big rebound, still a 2-point Princeton lead, 3.5 minutes to play.
Trelstad showing why he's in the starting lineup. He's playing aggressively, fighting hard for every rebound.
Trelstad with the ball on the left side. Thompson, Paris, and that's short. Paris a horrendous shooting night, as is JF Glassmacher, and Lenny James just come down with the rebound. I would still go to both of them if I were West Windsor and Princeton, though, because they could get hot at any time.
As we said, that may happen yet as there's a loose ball.
Trelstad's got it. They have a bit of an altercation going here, a scramble on the floor. James comes up with it, and we're going to have a foul against Princeton High. Words being exchanged, and hey, can we have a West Windsor-Princeton basketball game without a bit of this? Fingers pointing. We'll remember back last year when Marv Trotman and Tom Hurst went at it here. Quite a sequence there as the ball rolled around the floor, some fingers being pointed now.
There was a lot of contact out there as the ball got loose, a lot of flailing bodies. Tempers getting a little heated up. We're the end result of all this is that we're going to see Darius Young at the we're going to see
It started with Glassmacher pinning Atkinson's legs to the floor, and he and Atkinson went at it a little bit. Nothing really grew out of that, and then all of a sudden the ball's rolling all over the place, fingers pointing. It's a close game, 2 hot rivals. To be expected almost.
James looks like he's hurting a little bit as he kneels down out by the top of the key.
He has had leg cramps in the past at times, and West Windsor could ill afford to lose him right now.
Looks like we're bringing Sexton in to replace James.
I don't think any malice on either team right there. Just a little bit hot.
Well, both teams playing awfully hard. Everybody diving for the loose balls. Quite a bit of action on that particular exchange.
Johnson for the tie. It's good. Evan Johnson from the left side, 49-49.
The big man showing that he can do it outside as well as inside. And the Pirates are revved up on defense.
A beautiful game coming down the stretch here, 49-49. West Windsor, Princeton's going to call timeout, 2:37 to go.
That's the first timeout of the game, I believe, and we're going to take a timeout as well with 2:37 left. Tie game here at Princeton High.
Long ago, man had no way to forecast the weather, so he never knew what to expect. Then came television news with forecast at noon, 6 and 11, and man never knew what to expect. Today, we have the
tournament. West Windsor, Plainsboro, and Princeton deadlocked at 49. Our first timeout called here tonight, called by Princeton High, and Rollo Warner had plenty of chances in the Hun game to call timeouts, decided to save them until the end, and he needed every one of those timeouts. If he had used just one of his timeouts before the end of the game, they would have lost because they just would have simply run out of time. So important to save your timeouts. Now with 2:37 to go in a close game, 4 timeouts for Princeton, 5 for West Windsor.
This is the first timeout we've seen the game thus far, mostly determined by the action of the players on the court. We're going to see a lot of coaching in these last couple of minutes, I'm sure.
Two quality coaches in Doug Snyder and Rollo Warner. As Thompson with the ball. On the left side.
We've got the triangle in 2 again.
Riddick. And we remember the triangle in 2 from last year when West Windsor ran it with Dave Arendis and Mike Walker ran the triangle in 2 on Marv Trotman and Paris, and it worked. Forcing the steal is West Windsor, a chance to take the lead now as Evan Johnson came away with it, and Lenny James will bring it up at the 2-minute mark, 49-49.
Of course, if West Windsor should manage to take the lead, that would make things strategically a lot easier for Coach Rollo Warner, who's going to call a timeout here and think about it now that they have the chance to take the lead. Here's a question. We have 1:57 left. Would the Pirates think about taking the ball out, stalling it, and taking the last shot?
Well, I'm sure he'll think about it, and they might do it, but it's very, very difficult to hold the ball for 1 minute and 57 seconds. So we just saw Princeton High had trouble holding the ball for 45 seconds or 30 seconds. Not that they were being deliberate. It's very, very difficult. I would say if it were maybe just 57 seconds left to maybe slow it down. But if they pull the ball out, Young and Thompson all night have been trapping the ball. And both are quick enough and good enough jumpers to get back and forth on the court and trap the ball. I probably wouldn't hold for the last shot. You have the momentum, you've come back, you're doing well. Of course, Rollo Warner might.
Of course, if they go in, get the bucket, and get the lead, that means that Princeton has to play from behind and play for the tie. Right now, of course, we have even numbers here, so we're looking at ties instead of a win-loss situation on each possession. That could change if we have some trips to the foul line.
Lenny James, obviously the best West Windsor ball handler. Gerard Hall, not a bad ball handler. The other 3, their skills lie elsewhere for the most part. Glassmacher trying to inbound it, and we don't have to worry as it's stolen away, but Trelstad kicks it out of bounds.
Just lost it on his knee. Did a nice job getting in front of Johnson and getting the ball on.
Tension is high here at Princeton High. Anytime these two teams play, it gets that way. County tournament and a close game on top of that with a nice crowd, even worse. Lenny James brings it across. He's picked up by Darius Young. To Gerard Hall, West Windsor not showing that they're going to slow it down. Glassmacher at the top of the key. To Steve Jackson. They'll look for a good shot, and nobody will look to force it, but I don't think they're going to play for one.
Man-to-man defense by Princeton.
Glassmacher to Johnson. That's his shot. Drives the baseline. It's on the way, but he traveled before the shot. No, they're going to say he was fouled before the shot.
Had an open route to the basket, stepped right in, and somebody got a piece of him.
And so now Johnson will go to the line for the 1-and-1, I believe.
Yes, 1-and-1 is non-shooting foul. 1:33 left. Pressure on Evan Johnson.
1 for 2 on the night is Evan Johnson. He had a big foul shot against Hunn the other night in the front end of a 1-and-1. Not a bad foul shooter. 6'6" junior. It's on the way, and it is perfect. And the Pirates back on top with 1:33 to go, 50-49 West Windsor. And I'm sure both of these teams would love to get a crack at McCorriston.
Well, I'm sure. Of course, they're the top-ranked team in the county and the top-seeded team in the tournament.
As you see, 1:33 in a 1-point game. Second shot is on the way. It's no good. The rebound is John Thompson. He runs it down the floor, and now he'll slow it down a bit. Instead, he'll pull up. It's on the way, and it is perfect.
1-point lead for Princeton High.
A junior on a team with seniors, but nothing wrong with him taking that shot. A great shooter. Lenny James now down one, goes right to the basket. Beautiful play, and West Windsor's back on top.
1:12 left in the game, 52-51. West Windsor in charge. John Thompson brings the ball down. This is Darius Young.
Peter Paris on the right side. West Windsor by 1 at the 1-minute mark. Paris, the open shot. He looks to drive the baseline. Trapped. He gives it off to Darius Young. No good. The rebound is Mike Riddick. He looks to shoot over Jackson. It's good. And Princeton High is back on top.
Back and forth, trading the lead here in the final minute of play. Lenny James with the ball.
Beautiful action here at Princeton High as West Windsor calls timeout. 45 seconds to go in a heart-stopping game. 53-52 Princeton High.
High school basketball doesn't get much better than what you're seeing right here. The two teams going end-to-end, hitting the shots. Tension-filled situation here at Princeton High.
And the crowd evenly divided. West Windsor just up the road. So, and this was the case last year when it came down to right at the end, and West Windsor was able to pull it out. 53-52, Princeton High on top, West Windsor with the ball. What are you looking for?
Well, we talked a lot about holding to the last shot. That's something you want to do with a tie game instead of when you're trailing. 45 seconds left here. I'm sure when the Pirates get the ball in, they're going to look to go down and score. It would be a pretty gutsy move to hold for the last shot when you are a point down.
I wouldn't doubt that the loser of this game is going to really suffer the rest of the way. Well, neither team in the state tournament. This is their state tournament. This is what they have left to shoot for. Their big rival. After this, all they have is their last swing through the Valley Division. A big, big game for both teams.
And as Coach Doug Snyder gives instructions to his team, we may well see some more of the specialty defenses here. Princeton has been playing the man-to-man, but if West Windsor should get the bucket, who knows what we'll see. Coach Rollo Warner's been doing some different things on defense throughout the night.
Trellstad going to pressure Glassmacher. 45 seconds to go, 53-52 lead for Princeton High. James, Hall, Glassmacher, Johnson, and Jackson for West Windsor. Thompson, Young, Trellstad, Riddick, and Paris for the Little Tigers. Gerard Hall with the ball. He'll go strong to the basket, dishes it off nicely. It's on the way and good by Steve Jackson. And the Pirates are back on top.
35 seconds.
Just over half a minute to go. 45-44. Doug Snyder wants to talk it over now. A nice play by the three Pirates involved there. As we take a break with 31 seconds to go, 54-53 West Windsor.
Hi, I'm Don Farmer.
And I'm Chris Curl. Be sure to join us at 8 p.m. weeknights for CNN's Prime News. We'll bring you all the latest national and international news from the worldwide resources of CNN.
CNN brings you the only live primetime hour-long national news program with sports and weather and some special features.
So be sure to join us at 8 p.m. weeknights for CNN's Prime News.
Right here on Homelink Cable Channel 71 in Princeton.
Back here at Princeton High, one half of a minute left in a thrilling basketball game. West Windsor Plainsboro 54, Princeton High 53. Princeton High with the ball and a chance to take the lead. As now we see Rollo Warner going offense, defense. Dan Sexton's going to come back into the game for Princeton High. As you look at Doug Snyder giving his instructions to his troops. And Peter Paris hasn't had the best of games, but he's a threat to score. Thompson, Young, good shooters. Riddick could do it inside, and Brian Trellstad has had a pretty good game for the Little Tigers.
Well, I think the man that we have to look for, that I would be going to if I were Doug Snyder, would be John Thompson, who has had the shot, particularly from the right side of the baseline. He's just had an outstanding game. Some of the other players have been off and on. He's been the most consistent outside shooter.
But a crowd definitely into it. Half a minute to go here. Princeton High with the ball. Opening round of the Mercer County Tournament, John Thompson bringing across. 54-53, West Windsor. Young into Riddick, slapped away by Jackson, but controlled by Paris. 19 seconds to go. Nice backdoor to Trellstad, who was alone, and now 14-13. Timeout West Windsor. Beautiful play. Paris to Trellstad. The Little Tigers take the lead.
Well, we talked about how Peter Paris hasn't contributed much offensively. He just made one of the biggest offensive plays of the evening right there. Got the ball on a loose ball, brought it back out as the West Windsor defense came out to look at the ball. Brian Trellstad, who's just recently broken into the starting lineup, went streaking towards the basket. Paris found him wide open, and all Trellstad had to do was bank it in off the glass.
Glassmacher going to come back in. Sexton will probably sit down. 12 seconds to go. 55-54 Princeton. West Windsor in a bit of a tight spot, but not as tight as the other night against Hun. Let's see if they learned from that experience. When they were losing by 1 point in that game with 5 seconds left and did not even have the ball and still pulled the game out.
Now, as we talked about the key man to go for Princeton before, now if you're Rollo Warner, who do you want to have the ball? You have to think that Steve Jackson.
Well, I want Steve Jackson close enough to the basket to get a rebound. I wouldn't mind seeing Lenny James take the ball and try to drive to the basket, maybe get fouled. We're going for the layup. J.F. Glassmacher has been shut out tonight, but he's still their best shooter, and you have to go to your best shooter. You have to have the confidence to go to him in this situation.
And as always, there's the big man, Evan Johnson, who certainly would have the shot blocked if he goes in there, being 6'6".
Here we go now, 12 seconds. 55-54, Princeton High. Lenny James better pick it up quickly. He does. Under 10 seconds to Gerard Hall, and he calls timeout. Smart move by Rollo Warner. As good a coach as there is in Mercer County. I'm sorry. sorry. He is as good a coach as there is in Mercer County. They wanted the ball. They wanted the ball here, and they got it up here. They took a timeout. 8 seconds left. 55-54. We'll be back for the conclusion after this.
When you're reaching for more out of life, it helps to have friends encouraging you to try something new.
There's no way you can screw up this recipe, I promise you.
To give it your best.
I know you get tired, but that's the whole point.
To show the world how good you feel, now you can turn to Lifetime for encouragement.
There's so many things that you can do.
Lifetime, we're friends for life.
We're back to see if 8 will be enough for the Pirates of West Windsor as 8 seconds remain on the clock. 55-54 Princeton. It's been a riveting game the whole way. Two teams, big rivals. We see it in every sport. Remember back to the fall, the football game was 7-6, Princeton won. Came down to the very end. How fitting it does here in the Mercer County basketball tournament. Young, Thompson, Riddick, Trelstat, and Paris for Princeton. James, Jackson, Johnson, Hall, and Glassmacher for the Pirates. West Windsor got the ball to where they want it now. Glassmacher's going to inbound the ball. 8 seconds to go. The crowd is very much into it.
The Little Tigers back in his zone off, or zone defense.
JF Glassmacher, it's on the way. It's good! 3 seconds to go. Timeout, and do you believe it? The magic is simply in JF Glassmacher's right hand. He couldn't even come close all night. The game is on the line. That was the very play they ran against Hun with the very same result. And JF Glassmacher to Lenny James on the inbound, back to Glassmacher, and both times it took 5 seconds. And now the Pirates are the team in control. 3 seconds to go. 56-55. West Windsor in control.
We talked a lot about Paris and Glassmacher, the outside shooters, not having contributed much, but here they are. When the game on the line, they're the ones who've been coming up with the key plays. Glassmacher burying a shot after being relatively cold from the outside all night. And as we talked about, you said that the coach has to have the confidence to go back to his best shooter. He called the Glassmacher's number, Walla Warner. Now we'll see he's got an opportunity to coach some defense. 3 seconds left. Doug Snyder in the huddle trying to set up a play. Got to decide who he wants the ball to go to. Will we see Peter Paris handling the ball? He's the man with the outside touch, he and Thompson.
It's going to be tough for Princeton. They have to go the length of the court in 3 seconds. They'll probably try to look to throw it to at least half court, because if they inbound it just underneath, it's going to take a 3/4 for most of 3/4 length of the floor shot, and that probably won't go in. Interesting to see what Princeton High will do here. Interesting to see who'll even unbound the ball. Evan Johnson likely to be in the face of the guy trying to inbound the ball. A smart move for the Pirates.
May look for Paris streaking back towards the basket. James is fronting him towards the ball now. There he goes.
They got it off to Paris. He's got it with 2-1. It's out of bounds. 1 second left. And they're going to call a foul on the Pirates. Peter Paris is going to go to the line to shoot. I believe it's going to be a 1-and-1. And this could be the game here for the Little Tigers. Paris, probably the man you want on the line. The senior down by a point. 1 second to go.
What can you say? Peter Paris, this is the man Doug Snyder would want on the line if he was going to put anybody there. The team's best shooter, we've talked about him all night.
And Paris getting the crowd into it. A little showmanship for Peter Paris.
1 second remaining.
Don't be surprised to see the Pirates call a timeout. Ronald Warner can't believe it. He's up against the wall. And Peter Paris stepping to the line. The crowd is on its feet. 1 second to go.
He must make the first.
The crowd going nuts. Paris at the line. It's on the way. It's no good. He's got one more chance. We might be going to overtime.
Now with the opportunity only to tie it and send the game into overtime.
56-55, West Windsor, 1 second to go. This one to send it into overtime. Both crowds on its feet. Peter Paris, a chance to tie. It's on the way. It is no good. The Pirates have done it. West Windsor Bladesboro beats Princeton High 56-55. They will advance chance to beat McCorston in the second round of the Mercer County Tournament. And what can you say about J.F. Glassmacher?
As the Pirates celebrate, Mike Riddick can only stand and watch in dejection. What a tough way to lose. The best shooter at the line, Peter Paris, couldn't make either of the shots. As a result, we're going to have West Windsor coming away with a 56-55 victory. Quite a game. Oh, that's all we can say. We're drained here. It's been a tremendous game here at Princeton High School. The Pirates now improve the record to 8-10.
Get a guess. Post-game guess.
Little Tigers fall to 7-11. 56-55, once again the final. And as we talked about throughout the game, the roles played by Paris and Glassmacher. We talked about the outside shooting. When it came right down to it, those were the two people the teams had with the ball in the crunch. Paris makes a nice pass to Trelstad to give them the lead. Glassmacher answers back by burying the jumper from the corner. Paris, as we saw, takes the long pass, gets it inbounds, has the chance to tie or win the game at the line. Can't do it.
So West Windsor wins at 56-55. They head into the quarterfinals of the county tournament to take on the top seed in McCorston Iron Mikes. A beautiful basketball game here from Princeton High School. Running down the final scoring for you, J.F. Glassmacher, 2 incredibly big points. He had 22 the other night, including the game winner at the buzzer. This time, the game winner came with 3 seconds left. They were his only 2 of the night. Evan Johnson, he had 14 for the Pirates. Steve Jackson, 18 points, 14 rebounds, 2 for Paul Atkinson, 6 for Gerard Hall, 2 for Dan Sexton. And Lenny James, 10 points, but he did a marvelous job running the show for Princeton High. Take nothing away from the strong effort by Brian Trelstad. He had 16 points to lead the Little Tigers. As John Thompson also added 16 for the Tigers. Mike Riddick breaking out of his scoring slump. He had 12 points, 2 for Peter Paris, 2 for Corey Allen. A heartbreaking loss for the Little Tigers of Princeton. A huge win for West Windsor Plainsboro, a young team that just seems to be maturing as the week goes on. Not so much the season, but the week for West Windsor. First the win over Hunn by 1 point. Now the win over Princeton. They trailed by 11 here tonight, and showing that they're getting better. They're getting older, more mature. They come back and they take this one.
We talked about what this game will mean to West Windsor. Aside from getting to play the best team in Mercer County, it also is kind of devastating for Princeton. This is one of these kind of games where when you've been in a losing situation, they had lost 7 in a row prior to just 3 nights ago, beating Hopewell Valley to snap that string, and now just a crushing defeat. They must have wanted this game so much. You could see both teams playing so hard as the game came down to the wire. Some excellent coaching on both ends, but in the long run, it's West Windsor comes away with the 56-55 win. That's about all we have here. Just a tremendous game at Princeton High School for Homelink Communications of Princeton.
Let me just add, Steve Jackson came into this week without having played in a year. All he had been doing was practicing, and all we heard from the West Windsor camp all throughout the preseason and the beginning of the season is wait till Jackson becomes eligible. If we are in the state tournament when Jackson comes eligible, we have a good chance. That's all we heard from the West Windsor people. They couldn't do it, but they certainly did it here tonight. They advanced to meet McCorston. Steve Jackson, 20 points, 14 rebounds. J.F. Glassmacher, the game winner with 3 seconds left. Peter Paris couldn't do it for Princeton at the very end. West Windsor 56, Princeton 55. Jerry Price and Rich Miller are saying so long.